You're stuck at home in quarantine. 5 o'clock. Why not have a drink with me?
Hello, good evening. Good to see you. Thank you for coming and having a drink with me today. Today is Wednesday, April 15th. It would have been tax day had we not been enthralled in a global pandemic that seems to have put off taxes for 3 months, which gets me thinking of the famous trope that there are two things certain in this life: death and taxes. Maybe taxes not so much. At least we have a 3-month reprieve. Hope you're all doing well. Happy hump day. I'm going with the forward-facing camera again today so I can see folks in the chat. Feel free to wave. Hi Ben, hi Emily, good to see you guys. And I have spent some time today preparing to talk about our cocktail for this evening, which is the Sazerac. Which is the classic New Orleans cocktail and one of my favorite cocktails of all time. And so as I was doing a bunch of research in all of my cocktail books, cocktail history books, cocktail recipe books, etc., I learned and was reminded that the history of the Sazerac is just really hard to pin down because nobody really knows exactly what was going on back then. And so there are a couple of stories that are told about the creation of the Sazerac. But as cocktail historian David Wondrich likes to say, when you put them up to scrutiny, most of them have as many holes as a Hawthorne strainer. And so what do we know? We know that it came about in New Orleans. We know that its first appearance that we know of in print, confirming its existence, is from 1899, so we're talking right around the turn of the century there. We know that it features Peychaud's bitters, and we know that it was being made and served in the Sazerac House bar in New Orleans. And there were a couple of bartenders that really brought it to predominance. And then from the time when we first see its existence in the record in 1899, within a decade, people are going crazy about the Sazerac. Part of that is because it's a good cocktail, and part of it is also, I think, the marketing and mystique of it. Because when you really examine the ingredients in the Sazerac, it's quite a simple cocktail. And it isn't anything too different from what people had been drinking for a while. And so some people are thinking that, at the turn of the century, as many are veering off and experimenting more with, we start to see vermouth coming onto the scene. People are looking for different things to mix with. We're using more fruits. We're getting a little bit crazy with our cocktails. This is sort of like another return, like the old-fashioned originally was, to the more basic cocktails that we have. And so there was a drink called an improved whiskey cocktail, which basically is an old-fashioned with maybe some maraschino liqueur or something a little extra in it, and this is pretty close to that. In any case, the other fascinating thing about the Sazerac is, for something that's so iconic, there are a couple of different basically every single ingredient is in dispute in a really interesting way. So it's said that the original Sazeracs were made using cognac, and then it moved to whiskey, specifically rye, although some will make it with bourbon throughout the ages also. So right there up front we have this dispute about, do you use rye, do you use cognac? And a lot of recipes that I've seen actually use both rye and cognac, interestingly enough. It's like Devin has joined us. Hey Devin, good to see you. Hope that you can whip up a cocktail to drink with me tonight. So we have this dispute about the spirits. The most, I think, certain thing about this cocktail is that it has to use Peychaud's bitters, which is a specific type of bitters made by A.A. Peychaud. And then actually his company and recipes were bought and then later created by the folks that ran the Sazerac house. So that's sort of like the streamline that goes from Peychaud to the Sazerac. Favorite bitters from Devon, totally agree. These are delicious. Now, but even this is in dispute in the Sazerac. Nobody would make a Sazerac without Peychaud's bitters, but a lot of people are saying use Peychaud's bitters, but you also want to include Angostura bitters. So a lot of modern recipes and historical recipes will have a combination. If you go to New Orleans and get one, it'll depend on the bar you're going. A lot of them will just go heavy and only do Peychaud's. Some of them will use, say, 4 dashes of Peychaud's, 1 of Angostura, maybe even 4 to 2 if they're being crazy. I think that's a little bit out on the edge, in my opinion. So we have these 2 types of spirits in dispute between the rye and the cognac. We have the bitters in dispute. And then modern recipes are also going to dispute the sugar that we get from this, with many saying to use a simple syrup, as a lot of modern recipes want to, because it'll be consistent, you'll know exactly what you're getting, and it'll dissolve really well. But a lot of the classic recipes will also say, no, use a sugar cube, soak the sugar cube with the bitters, muddle that up, it'll be great, and then pour it in. I will say the 2 things that are consistent in every recipe is, 1, you need an absinthe rinse of the glass, and then you're going to garnish it with lemon. Although even with the garnish, I see some saying express the oils and then toss it, and some saying express the oils and then put it into the drink. So there's another one. From what I remember, the Sazerac I had or the Sazeracs I had in New Orleans, they were all putting that lemon garnish right in, so we're going to do that. So I'm excited to make this today, and so what we're going to do is I'm going to make 2 Sazeracs. One is, I think I'm going to try as much as possible to replicate what is my sense of the original best sort of fully true recipe there. And then the second Sazerac that I'll make will play around a little bit with the spirits. I'm going to do a mix of rye and cognac, and then I'll try both of the bitters. This won't be a strictly scientific endeavor, because I'm changing too many things. I don't have a control group. So for the scientists among us, I apologize for that, but we are going to make 2 versions of the drink, and I'll do a little taste test to compare. So let's get at it. So let's start with just assembling our ingredients for what I'll say is the classic in this, what would you call this, in the stemmed mixing glass, and then I'll do the nouveau recipe, mostly based on a recipe from my Death and Company recipe book, which I love, in this shorter mixing glass. So for the classic, I'm going to start with a sugar cube. So I have a Demerara sugar cube right here. I'm going to find one that's not huge, so you don't want it super sweet. It's like 3/4 of a cube. If you look at basically the first recorded recipe for the Sazerac, they'll recommend 1/2 cube in that, but all of the measurements back then are also kind of crazy. Who knows how big a sugar cube was back in the day? I have no idea. So we're going to go there, and for our bitters, we are going to do all Peychaud's bitters, and I'm going to be a little bit heavy. I'm going to go 4 or 5 good dashes of my Peychaud's bitters in here. Ooh, that's pretty heavy right there. And so what I'm doing is I'm just soaking that sugar cube with the Peychaud's. And I'm even going to take my muddler here, and I'm just going to give it a quick little mash up to start to get that a little bit dissolved as much as possible. Because again, the argument for using the simple syrup is that you don't have to worry about dissolution of the sugar. But we're going to do pretty good here. Very nice. So we have these sugary bitters there, and now we're going to go to our spirit. And for this, we're going to use just straight rye. So we're going to do 2 ounces of rye. I've talked about it before, but strong recommend for this of using the bottled in bond 100 proof Rittenhouse rye. This is going to be spicy. It's going to have the alcohol to hold up to what we're doing, and it's going to be really great. Nothing sadder than an empty bottle of Rittenhouse. Lucky for us, we've got a backup. open this right up. Looks like we've got some new viewers today. We've got Eric, how you doing? And my mom is in here. Hey, Mom. Whoa. All right. So we've got 2 ounces of the rye. The angle's a little bit awkward here, but there we go. All right, so this is just Peychaud's, sugar cube, and all rye. Now let's assemble our ingredients for our second drink. And so for this, we are going to do 1 teaspoon of Demerara syrup. As our sweetener. It's a little bit light, yeah. All right, so that's gonna be our sweetener. And now we're gonna do 4 dashes of Peychaud's, and we're gonna mix in an Ango. We're really living on the wild side today. But I guess quarantine will do that for you. All right, so we're gonna 1, 2, 3, 4. Very nice. And then just 1 hearty, healthy dash of the Ango. Angostura bitters. It's like 1.5 dashes. But that'll be good. Sorry, it's kind of big. I put my nose in here, and there's more alcohol in the in this glass, obviously, because I already added the rye. So I just got a huge nose of alcohol fumes that I forgot I already added the rye to that one. All right. So now we're going to add our spirit here. And so again, for this Nouveau Sazerac, we are going to do 1.5 ounces of the rye, and then 1/2 ounce of cognac. And in fact, I don't have a great cognac on hand right now, so I'm going to use this French Armagnac, which is another French brandy just from a different region of France, which I think will substitute in just fine. So we're going to do, again, 1.5 ounces of the Rittenhouse. And then 1/2 ounce of my Armagnac. Devin saying, I assume I can't sub another syrup. You could use just a plain simple syrup, which will be great. You could also use just any sugar cube. You can use just plain sugar to replicate the sugar cube and soak that. I think there's a lot of options that'll work really well in this, actually, and I wouldn't be too picky about it. The Demerara syrup I happen to have on hand and is what was cited in the Death and Company recipe that I'm making, so I'm just sticking true to that. But back in the day, they just would have used what they call a gum syrup, which is just going to be like a simple syrup. What's the ratio to water for the Demerara syrup? What I'd recommend for the Demerara is probably a rich simple, so 2-to-1 Demerara sugar to water. And then some Demerara syrups that I see made, including this one, actually isn't all Demerara. It's like half Demerara, half white granulated. So there's a lot of different recipes and different places that you can go with that. But there you go. Not maple. You cannot make a Sazerac with maple syrup, Devin. You're going to give a lot of New Orleans bartenders heart attacks with that type of talk. So tone it down. Tone it down. Lovely. All right, so I'm going to add the Armagnac. I don't think I did that yet, right? Can we get a yes or a no? This is still clean. So I'm going to add 1/2 ounce of the Armagnac. Very nice, very nice. So here I can see the granules still from that sugar down there. This is nice and clean because we used the syrup. I'm gonna also prepare my glasses. So what's traditional is to do the absinthe rinse of the glasses. Instead of doing a full rinse, I have this atomizer that I just fill with absinthe. And I'm just gonna spray the inside of the glass, which does just as good a job as the rinse, but you waste less of the absinthe, which I think is a good thing. All right. So my glasses are ready. I've got my lime here ready for garnish. And so now we're just going to do a little stirring. So let's get ice in both of these. Now the Sazerac is going to be served straight up, so we're going to strain out the ice. We're not going to strain it onto any new ice or anything like that. It's a straight up cocktail. That's another thing that is very consistent despite the different recipes that you have. And I'm just going to throw the rest of this ice in the freezer so that it doesn't keep melting on me. So another thing that I can use some more practice on is my left-handed stirring. So I'm going to try to stir both of these simultaneously. But I'm going to be much better with my right hand than my left hand. So let's give it a stir. Okay, I can't quite keep the same pace with my left hand as my right, but I'm using my better bar spoon in my left hand, so that's making up a little bit of the difference. That final few resolutions. All right, so something that I can practice, hashtag quarantine goals, is my left-handing and dual stirring. I hope you all support me in that endeavor. All right, so I have my 2 absinthe rinsed glasses right there. And then I've got my 2 drinks here. So we'll take our OG Sazerac and just pour it right into that glass like that. And I will take my Nouveau Sazerac and pour it into this one. Looks like we've got Adrian in the chat. Adrian, how you doing? Adrian's out in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Hope she's doing. Hope you guys are doing well out there. All right, so I've got my 2 Sazeracs. We're gonna garnish them the same way. It's really a dual garnish because we have the absinthe rinse, which is gonna give us that aroma, and then we're also gonna express this lemon peel and drop it in. So let's give this a snip right here. So I'm gonna just try to spray those oils right on there. I'm gonna coat around the edges. See Bruce barking from the backyard. I don't know what's going on out there. Drop it in. Now I'll do the other one. Same thing. Give it a rub. Get it. So the absinthe and the lemon are really going to compete for that aroma. Just going to go grab the dogs real quick. Hope you stay with me. Come on. All right. They are maniacs, but they're back. All right, and so here we have these 2 really beautiful, nice red colored cocktails there. I feel like I did okay with the sugar in this one. I don't see any grittiness or graininess. I don't know if it's still in the mixing glass. And then this one is nice and clear. Colors are pretty identical depending on where you put them up to in the sun. And so let's have a taste. I'm going to start with the classic. I get like a combo of the lemon and the absinthe. Absinthe isn't too strong. Hear Dixie lapping up her water. She's enjoying her own 5 o'clock cocktail. There Bruce goes. That's very good. The spiciness of the rye is really counteracted by the Peychaud's bitters, which are really good. This isn't a sweet cocktail by any means. This is a lot less sweet, a lot less sugar than I use in like my old fashions, for example. But still quite nice. Now let's try this one that used the syrup, used a combination of Peychaud's and Angostura bitters, and used a combination of 3-to-1 ratio of rye to cognac, or actually Armagnac, instead of all rye. Mellower, less spicy. I think because some of the spiciness from the rye is being counteracted by the Armagnac, which has a little mellower, sweeter flavor to it. It's also quite good. I wasn't expecting to like this one as much or even more, but I really do. It's really quite good. Trying to decide which I like better. They're both excellent. Really just like exemplary cocktails. I would drink either one of these at any time that it was appropriate. I think I like this one better. I'm surprised to say. I wasn't expecting to say it. I generally one for the classics. Now, to be fair, this is a classic that goes back to the Sazerac's roots. This is not at all like a bastardization of the cocktail, and is something that is very close, or that you probably would find in bars in New Orleans. And this is really nice. This has me thinking about the trip to NOLA that I took. I guess it was 2 falls ago now. Met some friends down there. Shout out to Tara, to Ed, to Keith, and to Zach. Who it was my first trip down there. It was a lot of fun. They showed me around. It was kind of like a cocktail mecca for me. Had a view carré at the Carousel Bar, which is another cocktail goal of mine. We'll make one of those sometime soon, and then drank a lot of these Sazeracs, which was excellent. All right. Well, I'm going to be enjoying these 2 Sazeracs, I guess, unless Helen wants one. She's welcome to it. Hope that you all have a great evening, and hope that you will join me again in the coming days.
It's 5 o'clock. Why not have a drink with me?
Cheers, everyone. See you tomorrow night.